This is a video of how to differentiate readings, specifically within Amplify curriculum, but certainly you could use it with any curriculum. It could be used with elementary readings, high school readings, but again, since I'm a middle school teacher, generally my examples all come from the middle school Amplify curriculum. And this is how to differentiate readings within a UDL framework. So making sure that all students have access to what they need, whether they need more support than the standard assignment or they need to actually go further and go beyond that standard assignment. Hopefully this active reading slide looks familiar. It's in Teams. If you have never seen it, I might talk to Alicia and ask her where you would find this, but this gives you all sorts of strategies to help students who need more support. So I'm going to focus a little on that in this, but then I'm also going to show you how you would support kids who need above and beyond what the reading is that you are assigning. So I'm going to look at the magnetic fields lesson 1.4. That has to do with Earth's geomagnetism. And so I would have three versions. A supported version in which I would give students a link to the e-reader, and I'm going to go there in a second to kind of remind you of what options are there, or an option to read out loud, and read out loud either in a group, supervised or unsupervised. So lots of different ways I can support kids using the same reading. And that's the idea, that the supported version is going to use the same reading, but I'm supporting kids in how they're reading it. So they could use the e-reader to have it read to them. They could read it out loud in a group. They could read it out loud in a supervised group, supervised by me specifically, or they could read it out loud in an unsupervised group where they and maybe two other students are meeting together, perhaps in the hall, perhaps in the back of the classroom, and they're reading out loud with each other, but not with me. And in this case, I talked in a different video where I would only share the supported version with students who really need the support. In this case, since it's the same article, I really don't care what students choose because they're all reading the same thing in the end. The standard version, I use OneNote, so it would simply be a downloaded copy in OneNote and they're reading independently. But then the going further version is actually going to be a different article with more challenging concepts based on Earth's geomagnetism. So the exact same topic, but more challenging reading, more challenging concepts. And what I'm going to focus on in a minute is showing you how you're going to find that reading and how, again, I don't like to use the term how easy it is because that undercuts a lot of what we do, but that this is not a laborious process to differentiate these readings. And remember, once you've done one year, you have that for the next year. One thing I want to point out is that all students will have analysis questions, which should either be done independently and then checked with a partner or team, or done entirely with a partner or team after they read the article, whichever article they are choosing to read. I always like them to check with a teammate at least. I say that science is best when it's social, that only that way will you have somebody who's going to push back against your thinking and really challenge you and really get you to go deeper or spot a mistake that you may have made. You can also write tiered questions for these. If you are unfamiliar with how to write tiered questions, please see my other video on how to write tiered questions. So now what I want to do is go to the Amplify library. And this is the Earth's geomagnetism article. So while I'm going to download the PDF of the article and put it directly in OneNote, I'm also going to download this link here. And this link will get students to this e-reader. And here they have the option of having the e-reader read out loud to them. They also have the option of clicking on the vocab so that they get those vocab words in both English and Spanish. And so those are two things that they get from the e-reader that they obviously don't get from a PDF. Some students, that's all they need. Other students are going to want that really supported. Let's get 4 kids in a group together. Let's all read out loud together while I'm supervising and calling on kids to read in turn and making sure students understand it. So now what I want to do when I want to encourage kids to go further is I'm actually going to start at Google here. And at Google, I am going to type in, I want Earth's magnetic field. Okay, so I know the article is on Earth's geomagnetism, but I'm just going to kind of look and see what I see. I'm seeing some stuff from space.com. I'm seeing some stuff from hyperphysics. I'm seeing this from NASA, and already I kind of like this because it's talking about Earth's magnetosphere. And so that's already bringing in further vocabulary. I also like that it says protecting our planet from harmful something. So that to me is going to make this really applicable to students. It's going to show the purpose of Earth's magnetosphere. So I'm going to click on that. And I like it because it's NASA. So I'm always going to choose something that is clearly very scientifically valid. I like to show students what is out there. And then the first thing I'm going to do is glance through this. I'm not even going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to kind of glance through this and see, is it too long or too short? Is it too easy or way too hard? What's going on? Do I feel like this would be a good article for my students? I do see there are some videos. I think that's going to kind of draw kids in a little. I'm looking, this is talking a little bit about what Earth's magnetosphere is, some impacts of space weather that's kind of cool. You can click on that. Okay, that's excellent. Kind of just zooms in. I see, okay, we're going to talk about auroras. And as I go through this, I am going to see, because I've already read this, but I do see that, okay, this is not only getting at what the original article in Amplify got at, but it's going into a little more detail, which is what I want for going further. So in Amplify, it talks about the layers of the Earth and where the magnetic fields come from. It talks about Earth's magnetism. This, again, we've got a little video that's looking at the magnetosphere. Here we're looking at kind of solar winds, but we're going to go into a little bit of the tectonic plates and the polarity of those. We're going to get into all sorts of things, but it's all, I think if I look at this, it's all really accessible to students, especially 8th grade students with a higher reading level. And so I'm going to assign them this instead. And so they would have this to go deeper. Now, again, they're not going to read both. They're going to pick one or the other. And for the kids who go further, they're just going to learn a little more, right? This is looking at Earth's North Pole and how it kind of wobbles a little, which is kind of neat. So it's really going into everything. Now, obviously, I already knew I was going to click on this because I have already differentiated these readings. And so sometimes I do have to look and go, okay, I'm going to skip Wikipedia. I just know that, right? But okay, here's space.com. Let me see if I like this. And so it does sometimes take a little while. This does say our protective blanket helps shield us from unruly space weather. I do like, I can see these. It's looking a lot like the same thing that I just saw. I'm not crazy about this ad in here. So if I had to choose, I'd probably choose the NASA one. But again, I've got a little bit of a video here. I actually like this one as well. I do like that there's a lot of different links that kids can click on here. Again, I'm not really crazy about all these pop-ups. My point being, there is no one right way to do this, and I might have to click on a couple of articles before I decide what I like best. Let me go back. But really, if I skip Wikipedia, the first two articles had a lot of potential. And so I can pick one and then I can write some analysis questions and then I can assign this as going further. And that didn't take too long. Right? If I didn't like these, I can go to magnetic fields of the earth. If I don't like any of these, I can change my search and say Earth's geomagnetism, which is exactly what the name of the Amplify article was. But my point is, this didn't take too long. And if I'm choosing something that has the same concepts, but with more vocabulary and more depth, I can even probably use the exact same analysis questions. I'm just looking for more depth now from my students who read the deeper articles. Please, as always, reach out to me if you have questions or if you need help finding articles, if you want a little bit more one-on-one. But my goal here is really to show you that this is easy stuff you can do in order to hit all of the students you need in your classes that have such a diversity of learners.